Hello everyone, welcome to another video for your Azure interview questions. And this is Rishabh Kotial, your Azure buddy from InfosecTrain. And we are going to start with more questions in the Azure interview series. So these will be a bit more intermediate level of questions. So we'll be talking about or discussing them. And generally in the interview questions, rather than giving you the straightforward, means your mugged answers, which will be by bookish language or any article language, I prefer to explain those concepts rather than just reading out the your definitions or something else. I would prefer to just explain the particular concept over there. So that's why you'll be seeing many times I'm using pen. I'm taking you to the portal, to the articles. So, rather than you mug those things, I would suggest that you should be just simply going ahead and understanding the concept so that you can explain it to your interviewer in your own language, right? So let's just start with this series one more time and let's just move to the first questions for this video. Okay, so what is an Azure backup and how it is important? Okay, so this question has two parts. What is Azure backup and how it is important? And for the second part, that how it is important, uh, it is quite simple one, because why you required a backup, in the first place, not only the Azure backup, but any backup. Why would you require a backup? There is a fair answer for that, right? So one of the very simple or common understanding for this is after the WannaCry ransomware 2017, everyone start understanding the importance of your backups, that why anyone would be requiring to have a backup with them, backup of their data, backup of the work that they are doing, so that just in case anything happen, it may be a ransomware attack, maybe a disaster or anything, they can quickly back up whatever data they were having and start working from the same point. Even your company is big organization and it is functioning from 2 or 3 places. Even one place, one building is down, in one location your service is unavailable, another service can start functioning properly, and your customers, they do not feel any type of the disturbance, or in the accessibility, in availability. In CIA, right, we talk about the availability. So how or why it is important, that is pretty on the same note that required. Now with the Azure, you are shifting all of your services onto the cloud, right? You are connecting, you are having the hybrid scenarios as well, using your on-prem, using your cloud services as well, and you are having the multi-cloud as well. So at any moment you want your data to be backed up, like here is your on-premise data center, then there is your Azure cloud where your all data is storing, and you're working with simultaneously. And due to any reason, let's say that there was your file sharing service, and it is down on the on-prem, so you would be hoping that I take a backup of the on-prem onto the cloud, so that even let's just say that whenever I'm coming back, or during that particular period of time, like for 1 hour that service was down, so your user, your employee, they do not feel that they don't have any data to work with, so they are going to have a backup of that data, they can instantly start using it. So keeping this thing in your mind, we start having the Azure backups. Okay, so let's just talk more formally about it. When we are talking about the Azure backup, it is a service that is going to Azure backup service is makes backing up and recovering the data from the Microsoft Azure cloud simple, secure, and cost effective. Okay, so it is one of the very simple procedure, secure procedure, and it is also the cost effective as well. So simply you'll be thinking that what you can back up, right? So there will be the examples. Okay, so one additional question that can fit in here, that what you can back up using the Azure backup service. Okay, so I can take the backup of my on-prem, and in the on-prem I can use the Microsoft Azure recovery agent. I can install it. So that would be, in simple term, we call it the Mars agent. So if you have attended any of these Azure training, not only mine, But anyone, if you have gone through that, your trainer must have speak up about the mask agent. I usually talk it as the mask agent, that I have installed the mask agent, and from my on-prem I can take the backup of files, folder, different system states as well. Even I can protect my on-prem VMs that are on the either on the Hyper-V, that are either on the your VMware. So I can take the backup of those VMs as well. Apart from that, I can protect my Azure VMs. That's quite obvious. I can take a backup of that. I can take the backup of the managed disk. I can take the backup of the Azure file share. I can take the backup of SQL server in Azure VM. I can take the same goes for the SAP HANA. If you're working with the SAP HANA, so you can take the SAP HANA database in Azure VM, backup of that, Azure database for PostgreSQL. Okay, so if you're working with that, so you can take the backup of that as well, take the backup of Azure blobs as well. So all these services, with the Azure backup services, these things are available for you. Now, some of the benefit of Azure backup would be that one of the thing that it is one of first thing easily scalable. It can scale easily. With that, you are getting unlimited data transfer, few simple things. Okay, it can keep your data very secure. Okay, now on premise, it can take a offload on premise backup as well. So at any moment, there could be some physical challenges for your on-prem backup. There could be a lot of issues with that, and you know taking the backup of your on-prem on the cloud is one of the best thing that you can do. Okay, else you have to look for the different policies you have to create for the disaster recovery, taking the data backup, and keeping all this process simple. You can go with the on-premise. It is going to take the workload from you, and you can store it on the cloud, and then at any moment, any time, any place, you can take the backup wherever you want. Okay, with that, we have talked about the data protection is going to be provided to with the Azure, Microsoft Azure. There is different storage option, different storage management. There will be the replication of the data that will be available for you, that how you want to secure. Even there will be the backup of your backup. Okay, in simple term, there is going to be the backup of your backup as well. And with that with that, there will be, when we are talking about the security, keeping your data secure, there is going to be the your protection in data in transit, data in rest. Those kind of the protection will also be provided to your backup data, so you can be less worried that you have a backup. And just in case that something drastic happens, some challenge that you face and you require a backup, there is going to be there. Okay, so this is the one of the backup services which is available in Azure, and you can take advantage of that Azure backup service. Okay, now let's just move on to the another question, and that question is that what is meant by your Azure domain name system, Azure DNS? Okay, what you understand with the Azure DNS? So in simple term, I would like to start like that this Azure DNS is going to be is your DNS hosting service. Okay, so in simple term, Azure DNS is a hosting service for your DNS domain that is going to provide name resolution using the Microsoft Azure infrastructure. Okay, and you can read the reference answer here as well, that Azure DNS is a DNS domain hosting service that uses Microsoft Azure infrastructure to deliver the name resolution, right? Now, when you are hosting your domain in Azure, you can manage the DNS record. Okay, the DNS record using the same credentials, APIs, different tools, and billing as your other Azure services. Okay, and one more thing, you cannot buy the domain name, cannot buy the domain name from the Azure DNS service. So if you're thinking that you can buy a particular domain name with the help of the Azure DNS, no, right? You cannot buy the domain, but if you have the third-party domain register, you already have the domain name, you can manage its record. Okay, so your domain, if you have purchased the domain name from the third party, you can, or even in the app service domain, you can just go ahead and register for an annual fees. In the app service, you have the option now to go ahead and purchase the domain. Okay, in the app service in the Azure app service, there you will be finding now this option is there. And with the Azure DNS, you cannot buy the domain name. You have to keep in mind. And if you have already purchased the domain name from a third party, you can, your domain then can be hosted on the Azure DNS, and you can do the record management over there. It is reliable. Okay, it is going to provide you the, most of the time high availability over there, and there are many security controls that you can apply on your Azure domain name, right? So, we have the things like activity log in there, resource locking in there. We have the Azure role-based access control to control the domain, Azure DNS itself. So that is some of the security features that you will be finding in the Azure DNS itself, right? So this is the another question, and let's just move on to the another question that would be your, what tools are you going to use to create a VNet? So first of all, VNet means your virtual network. And just like we have the physical network in our organization, we are going to have the virtual network as well. Mimicking that thing means simply, like in your organization, there is going to be a network, right? And there is going to be the different devices, VMs connecting on them. There is going to be the routing services. Maybe you are using the VLAN, right? Or maybe, in organization, you will be creating the different zones, segmentation, like zone 1, zone 2, segmenting the network. Okay, like one department is on the different, subnet, another is on the different subnet. You're performing these kind of thing. So with the help of the VNet, you can mimic these kind of activity on your Azure cloud. And when we are talking about the Azure cloud, you have the power to create a virtual network. One of the simple example, when you want to launch a particular virtual machine, it need to be part of a virtual network. That is kind of mandatory. So means if I am launching a VM, it need to belong to a particular virtual network. Okay, and when I'm talking about the virtual network, it is going to have a particular address range. Okay, a private address range we are talking about. Then you can, if you want to divide it into the subnet, you can do that as well. So if this is a VNet, it can have multiple subnets. Okay, this is the subnet 1, sub 1. I'm writing it sub 1, sub 2, and these can have multiple devices like VMs. Another one can have the databases, right? That you can apply the different internal load balancer, different policies, different routes in there, and manage the traffic control. So that is just up to you. So that is just the bit brief overview of a VNet. Now, what tools are you going to use to create a VNet? So we are talking about different way to create a VNet. So first of all, very simple thing is you can use your Azure portal, right? First of all, so in the portal, you always have the option to create a resource. Click on that. You will be moving forward. It will be giving you the option that what should be the address range and everything, and you have to plan for it. Now, after that, you can create a particular VNet. It will be giving you the VNet. Most easiest way, if you will ask me, is the Azure portal, using the Azure portal. Now, if you are good with the commands and you want to go with the PowerShell, or you want to go with the Azure CLI, you are welcome. You understand the, if you have the Azure module in the PowerShell, control whole thing from there. Or if you're good with the bash, you love the bash, that black screen, you're welcome, use that. Should be knowing that how to create a VNet. Simply run those commands, give it the address space, and you can have your VNet in there. Okay, now a network configuration file with that, what you can do, you can create a JSON based template file, and you can simply launch a VNet via that. It will be having whole configuration that what should be the address range, what should be the, if you want subnet, how many subnet you want, what should be the range, like you are giving it the 10.0.0.0/16, and then subnet you are defining. There are two subnets, subnet 1 and subnet 2. They can have the subnet like 10.0.0.0/24, 10.0.1.0/24. Like this, there could be, you can host the different VMs, your databases in there, and create a whole network over there. So you can see that this is a quite a wide address range. Even these are having the 256. I know there will be some reserved, some are the network address, so that is whole different thing, but these are the number of hosts that can be in there, right? So that's a completely different theory, but with the help of the Azure configuration file, that JSON based file, you can define these things. You can define the name and everything, where you want to launch it, and all those kind of detail you can provide. Even your VNet required to launch in a very specific zone, a very specific your uh, region, right? So there are 4 ways to create a particular VNet. There is Azure Portal, Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, and a network configuration file in there. Okay. Now let's just move to the another question. Okay, for today, that would be how much virtual machine storage can we use? So for this one, I will be first taking you to the answer, because many people can think this in a multiple different way. There could be a number of questions that could be there. So first, let's just see that what in which sense we are talking about. So if you have created a VM, what kind of the storage space or the size you can have. Now first you need to understand that when you launch a VM, there could be two kind of the data disk that can be there. Okay, storage that we are talking about, there is going to be the OS disk and the data disk. When I am talking about the OS disk, so just like in your physical laptop, physical system, if you needed to go ahead and launch the particular what I would say, if you need to go there and launch a particular VM, okay, or you need to install, you need to install in physical hardware, need to install an operating system, it required a storage space where it can go ahead and store the operating system, right? So whenever next time your system will be booting up, it will be going to the hard disk. If you remember how, anyone remember how the system boots up, it will be looking into that drive for the all necessary file. It will be loading it up into the memory or in starting the machine. So you require the OS disk where your operating system will be residing, and it is not going to be the exact like 128 byte or something, 128 GB or something like that. It could be having a big in size. Okay, and if I keep talking about this, I'm sure that I will be deep diving into the fundamentals of the computer science, but right now we are not going to do that. So we required an operating system disk. So for operating system disk, a maximum capacity of 4095 gigabytes is allowed. Okay, 4095. I think more accurately it should be around 4096 bytes of the space that is allowed over there. Okay, gigabytes. Okay, we are talking about the GBs. So if okay, so that is something that would be allowed over there. So if we are thinking about it, it is around the 4 TB, if I'm right. Okay, now apart from this, second thing is the data disk. So when you launch a VM, there is going to be one data disk, which is very specifically, you can add multiple data disks. If you remember, when you create a VM, there is an option when you choose a size of a VM that is defining that how many data disk you can add to it, right? There is the option like 4, 8, right, 2. These kind of the options are there. So data disk are going to store your data, and one data disk has maximum capacity of 32767 gigabytes, and that's, I would say, a good number. And just to show you these concepts, if I go to the particular VM right now, so you can see on this particular point, if I go to the disks part, so there is going to be the two kind of the disk. First is this OS disk. Second is this data disk. Okay. So this is the 127 gigs. There is, right now there is no data disk that is attached to this one. There is only one operating system disk. And the size that I was talking about, so if you will look under this column, data disk. So how many data disk different sizes can have? 2, 4, 4, 4, 4, 8, 8, 16, 16. So this is the number of data disk each machine can have, right? So this is our particular how many data disk you can add, what is a snail where you can see those options, what is the data disk operating system disk, and what size is allowed. So as I said in the very beginning, that I try to explain the concept rather than giving you the straightforward bookish answer. Okay, so these are the few questions for today. Okay, and we are going to keep the these videos short and simple so that every day you can go through 3 or 4 questions, keep your doubts clear, and learn more things. So let's just that's it for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. Like us, subscribe us, share it with your friend whom you think that you should be sharing and it can help them. So thank you for joining us, and you can contact us on the following details. You can visit our website. You want to book any of our, you want to do the certification on the Azure, or you want to do the certification in the cybersecurity or any other thing, you can contact visit that what we are providing, and you can do those particular trainings with us and improve your knowledge, gain more knowledge, and strengthen your careers. Okay, that's it from my end. Bye bye, and see you in the next Azure interview question series.